Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Natsu had dual elements. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 54, Trapped and Captured. 1 hour later, hotel within the royal city. The members of Earthland Fairy Tale all sat silently in different areas of their room. Each of them looked upset and anxious. Their current situation, particularly regarding their friends, was eating away at them. Happy sat on the floor, leaning up against a wall near the front door. Carla sat at a desk with ink and pen, appearing to be scribbling something on a piece of paper. Lucy and Wendy sat next to each other on the room's sofa, nervously exchanging glances with each other and their fellow guildmates. Natsu was the only one who wasn't seated. The pink-haired dragon slayer had a fiery determination burning in his eyes as he mindlessly paced around the room. Glancing out a nearby window, Natsu felt his blood boil when he spotted the massive lacrima his friends were trapped in being transported toward the castle. That's it, Natsu growled, turning away from the window and tightly balling his fists. I can't just hide in this room any longer. I'm busting into that damn castle and saving our friends. Please, just wait a bit longer, Carla muttered as she continued to write away, not even turning to look at Natsu. Just a bit longer. And why should I? Natsu exclaimed, storming over to the desk Carla was at and slamming his hands down. You've been saying that since we hid here. Well, I'm getting pretty damn sick of waiting. My friends, my mates, are being held prisoner by that sick bastard they call their king. If we don't do something soon, fuck, I don't even want to think about it. I can't imagine what you're feeling right now, Natsu, but those people are my friends too, and I want to help them as well, Carla said calmly, which caught Natsu completely off guard, seeming to quell his agitation slightly. We can't just storm in there like idiots. We need a plan or we won't be able to return everyone back to normal. Damn it, I guess you're right, Natsu said with a huff, before slamming his fist into the wall, punching a hole clean through it. It's just so damn frustrating. I feel so powerless right now. All of our friends, and so many other people, they were all turned into that lacrima, Wendy said as she stared down at her lap, nervously gripping her stockings. How are we supposed to change them back? I know you're not going to like this, especially you, Natsu, Carla said, pausing her writing for a brief moment and releasing a light sigh. But we really don't have any other choice. We have to ask the king directly. What? Natsu snarled as he glared at Carla, his rage flaring up once again. What makes you think that son of a bitch will even tell us? I'd much rather beat the information out of him. Wait, just wait a second, I think I have an idea, Lucy said, perking up and standing up off the sofa. If the king really does know how to change everyone back, we just need to get close to him. Really? Natsu said in a somewhat skeptical tone as he gazed at his blonde mate and quirked an eyebrow. What's your plan, Luce? I'm talking about Gemini, Lucy said with a smirk, holding up the celestial spirit's golden gate key. While Gemini can transform into whoever they touch, they also learn everything that person is thinking while they're transformed. In other words, if Gemini can transform into the king, we can learn how to save everyone. I see, Wendy muttered as she stroked her chin, pondering what Lucy had just explained. That might just work. But Gemini can only transform for 5 minutes at most, and they can only store 2 transformations, Lucy added, crossing her arms underneath her chest and narrowing her eyes slightly. After that, if we transform into someone new, we no longer will be able to transform into the older one. So, our main issue is, how are we supposed to get close to the king? There are too many guards around, and they're likely going to be on high alert, Wendy said as she slowly shook her head. It won't be easy, even if we try to sneak in. There is a way to get close to the king, Carla said, finally revealing what she had been drawing this entire time. The other members of Fairy Tale's eyes widened when they saw that Carla had apparently drawn a map of the royal castle and the surrounding area. She specifically pointed toward an area labeled coal mine. This was originally an escape route leading outside of the castle. But this underground route and the outside of the city should still be connected. That's amazing, Carla! Wendy exclaimed as she walked over and closely examined the map the white cat had drawn. How did you know all of this? This information just started popping up in my mind. Carla explained, clutching her head as she tried to clearly see the new images flooding her head. Ever since we came to Idolos, more and more information has been added into my head. Huh, that's weird. Happy muttered under his breath as he scratched his head. Nothing's been coming up for me. It's the best plan we've got, Lucy said, resting her palms on the table and leaning in closer to better look at Carla's map. We can get into the castle from here and make this work. Alright, it's settled then, Natsu said as he looked at each of his friends and guildmates, seeing a similar look of determination burning in their eyes. Let's turn everyone back into their normal selves. Good, since we all agree, we'll leave at night, Carla said, before folding up her map and slipping it into her coat pocket. We should get as much rest as we can before then. Several hours later, coal mine just outside the royal capital. Man, it feels weird to carry around a torch, Natsu said as he stared at the flickering flames at the end of the stick he was carrying. He practically started drooling as he watched the delicious-looking fire crackle. I'd normally just use my own fire. Everyone hush, Carla said, stopping at what appeared to be a dead end. We're here. Lucy, you're up. Right, Lucy said as she grabbed one of her golden celestial gate keys. Open the gate of the golden bull. Taurus. With a flash of blinding, golden light, Taurus materialized in front of Lucy. Before the muscular humanoid bull could begin his usual, horny antics, Lucy stopped him in his tracks. Taurus, we need you to smash through this wall. Got it, Taurus said with a grin, giving a thumbs up before he turned to face the wall. Cocking his arm back, Taurus grunted as he unleashed a devastating punch that collapsed the wall almost instantly. Moo! Nice job, Taurus, Lucy cheered as she returned her celestial spirit before it could attempt to hug her. Alright guys, let's keep going. This is amazing, Carla. Wendy breathed out, gazing into the passage that was hidden behind the wall. You were right. There really was a tunnel down here. I just hope it connects to the basement of the castle, Carla muttered with a perplexed look as she stared down at the ground. I really hope this works. We should. Natsu stopped after taking a few steps, noticing that Happy wasn't following them. Quirking an eyebrow, Natsu walked back over and crouched down next to the blue cat. What's wrong, Happy? You look confused. Why don't I have the information Carla does? Happy asked as he pressed both of his paws against his head, narrowing his eyes slightly as he tried his best to concentrate. I'm the same Idolos cat, and I have been sent to accomplish the same task, right? Happy, Carla said, glancing over at the blue cat. You promised me that you wouldn't ask about that, correct? AI. Happy muttered as he nervously pressed his paws together. I won't ask anymore. I have no idea why you can't remember what I can, Carla said, releasing a light sigh as she continued to walk down the passageway. Let's keep moving further inside. It's okay, bud, Natsu said with a sympathetic look as he gently patted Happy on the back. Standing up, Natsu took lead and proceeded to lead the group deeper into the tunnel. As the fairy tale mages descended deeper into the passage, Natsu grimaced as he examined the rotten and warped support beams. Damn, we better move quickly. It looks like this place could collapse at any moment. Ugh, please don't jinx us, Natsu, Lucy said in a slightly nervous tone, before practically latching onto Natsu when she heard a nearby support beam start to creak. Yeah, let's get the hell out of here as quickly as possible. We need to turn left up ahead, Carla said as she took the lead, clutching her head as new information filled her head. The rest of the group followed Carla's lead, taking several turns and walking down a seemingly unending maze of passageways. We're almost there, just a bit further. Let me take the lead here, guys, Natsu said, holding his torch out as he walked in front of everyone else. After taking a few more steps, Natsu's torch illuminated a rather large cavern. It's okay to come in, everyone, it looks like we've found some type of clearing. It seems like these tunnels are connected to the castle's basement from here, Carla said as she gazed around the cavern. We're so close to our goal. I don't know how you did it, but I'm seriously glad you're with us, Carla, Lucy said with a smile, before crouching down and gently patting the white-furred cat's head. We'd be totally lost right now without you. I wish that I could explain how I knew how to get here, Carla explained as her eyes narrowed slightly, crossing her arms over her chest. The information just keeps filling my head. Thanks so much, Carla, Happy exclaimed with a smile, raising his paw into the air. You're so awesome. Save your praise until we've rescued everyone, Carla said with a huff as she glanced back at Happy. Everything has been easy up until now. We need to sneak into the king's bedroom undetected, then escape. If the guards discover us before we get to the king, there's no way we'll win against them. Well, if we run into any trouble, I can still use my magic, Lucy said, placing a hand on her celestial gate keys. I'll hold off the guards for as long as possible. You won't need to do all the work, Luce, Natsu said with a grin as he punched his fist into his palm. I'll help you kick some major ass. Thanks, Natsu. We'll need to dash. Lucy was cut off mid-sentence when a slimy, tentacle-like binding wrapped around her. Ugh! What the fuck is this stuff? It's so gross. Luce, Natsu as he tried to rush over to his mate's side. However, just as Natsu was about to pry the slime off Lucy, he was stopped when another tentacle shot out and tied him up as well. Damn it! Where is this shit coming from? Wiping around, Natsu saw that Wendy had been bound as well. Wendy, you too. What is going on here? Just then, the sounds of clanking armor filled the cavern as dozens of Idolus soldiers swarmed around them. How are these guys here? It doesn't make any sense, Lucy grunted, desperately thrashing around in a vain attempt to break free. There's no way they could have known we were here. So, these are mages from Earthland. Natsu felt his entire body tense when he heard a familiar, imposing voice speak up from behind him. Turning around, the pink-haired dragon slayer wasn't surprised to see Urza Nightwalker approaching him. It's true, they look exactly like their counterparts. Natsu tensed once again when Nightwalker stopped in front of him, reaching out and gently caressing his cheek. As she leaned in closer, Natsu saw her menacing brown eyes soften slightly. You really do look just like my Natsu. Are you truly not the same person? Nightwalker, Natsu breathed out as he locked eyes with the scarlet-haired knight. I talked with Lucy Ashley, and Edomi, I know about your situation. You need to talk to them. I know you three can work things out. How dare you? You have no right to interfere in my personal life. You don't know anything. Nightwalker growled, before stepping back and harshly slapping Natsu across the face, which left his cheek bright red. Get them out of my sight. Now! Urza, at least hear us out, Lucy exclaimed as the soldiers began to drag her, and her friends, out of the cavern. You don't have to do this. Carla! Wendy yelled, digging her heels into the ground as she did everything possible in an attempt to stop the soldiers from taking her away. Help us, please. Wendy! Carla exclaimed, running after Wendy. However, she was stopped when Nightwalker stepped in front of her and Happy. What do you want? Exceed, Nightwalker said cryptically as she stared at both cats. Before Carla and Happy could question what was happening, they were shocked when Nightwalker and all of the soldiers kneeled before them. Welcome back, Exceeds. Exceed? Lucy parroted in a confused tone, watching the bizarre scene unfold in utter shock. What are they talking about? Carla, Happy, Wendy said in a shaky voice as her eyes widened slightly. Who exactly are you guys? I must congratulate you both on escorting these trespassers," Nightwalker said, causing Carla's entire body to freeze up as she broke out in a cold sweat. The plan worked flawlessly. Carla! Happy thought as he stared at the white-furred cat in shock, a chill running down his spine. What is she talking about? 20 minutes later, Royal Castle's dungeon. OOF. Natsu grunted, stumbling to the ground as he and Wendy were tossed into a dark and musty cell. Quickly getting back onto his feet, Natsu helped Wendy back up. Are you okay, Wendy? I'm fine, Natsu. Wendy replied, staring around the cold and depressing room they had been thrown into. Where are the others? Lucy? Happy? Carla? You son of a bitch. Natsu snarled as he rushed toward the cell's door, before skidding to a stop just as it was slammed shut in his face. There was a small, barred window on the door and Natsu tightly gripped the bars, glaring fiercely at the person who had shut the door. Where is everyone else? Where is Luce? I swear to God if you bastards hurt her. Everyone else, Lucy? Hughes repeated, quirking an eyebrow as he stared at Natsu in confusion for several moments. Ah, you mean that blonde girl. I hate to break it to you, but we no longer have any use for her. With a smirk, Hughes shrugged his shoulders and shook his head. Maybe she'll be executed, I don't know. You fuckers better not lay a finger on Luce. Natsu roared in fiery, draconic rage, slamming his head against the door's bars. Hughes took a fearful step back as he watched a trail of blood trickle down Natsu's forehead, veins bulging the pink-haired dragon slayer's hands and head. In a showcase of his impressive strength, Natsu began to bend the bars apart slightly, causing Hughes to yelp in surprise. If you guys hurt her, I'll burn you all to ashes. Not even your bones will be left. Holy shit. Hughes thought as he took another step away from the cell, staying well out of Natsu's potential reach. Coughing into his hand, Hughes attempted to recompose himself and put on a cocky demeanor. Oh my, aren't you scary? Are all you Earthland mages this savage? Why was Lucy the only one separated? Wendy asked, walking up to the cell door and placing a hand on Natsu's shoulder which seemed to calm him slightly. What about Happy and Carla? Happy? Carla? Hughes muttered as he scratched the side of his head. Oh, you mean the Exceeds. Their names are Happy and Carla. Natsu growled, continuing to glare daggers at Hughes. Call them by their names. TCH, whatever, since, Happy and Carla have completed their mission, they've returned to their homeland. Hughes explained, which caused Natsu and Wendy's eyes to widen in shock. Perhaps they're receiving a reward and eating good food right about now. Completed their mission? Wendy said under her breath, pondering what Hughes had said for several moments. After everything they had been through together, Wendy knew that there was no way Happy or Carla would betray their friends. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what this mission was, but Carla said she abandoned it. Tisk, TSK, tisk, wrong, little girl. Hughes mocked as he wagged his finger and shook his head. She most definitely completed it. What was their mission? Wendy asked, taking a deep breath as she prepared to hear the worst. Please, tell us. TCH, there's no reason not to tell you. Hughes said before a twisted smile spread across his face, causing a chill to run down Wendy's spine. Our main target was you two. Both Natsu and Wendy's eyes widened when they heard this. We want the power of dragons. Especially you pink-haired bastard. You've got the power of 2 dragons inside you. And soon, that power will be ours. Ha ha ha. Same time, unknown location. Ugh. Happy groaned, rubbing his head as he sat upright. After taking a moment to rub his eyes, Happy took in his surroundings. He was surprised to see that he was in a rather spacious and well-furnished room and that he was lying on a large, comfortable bed. Where am I? Hearing some mumbling, Happy looked to his side and was surprised to see that Carla was lying on the bed next to him. Reaching out, Happy gently shook Carla's shoulder. Carla, you have to wake up. Happy. Carla muttered as she sat up, rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. What happened to us? That scary lady who looks like Urza put us to sleep. Happy explained, staring at the rather luxurious-looking partially see-through curtains that wrapped around most of the bed. I wonder where we are. When Happy glanced back over at Carla, he saw that she was staring down at her lap, a downtrodden look on her face. Carla, what's wrong? My information, that map I made. Carla replied as she tightly gripped the hem of her dress. It was all a trap. What are you talking about? Us getting caught was all just a terrible coincidence. Happy exclaimed, doing his best to try and cheer Carla up. This absolutely isn't your fault. I swore to her. Carla said as she fought back tears, her body trembling slightly. I promised Wendy that I'd protect her. Before either Carla or Happy could say any more, the door to the room slowly creaked open. Both cats gulped as they anxiously waited for this newcomer to enter the room. However, there was no way they could have anticipated what walked into the room. In stepped a cat like Carla and Happy that had similar facial features to Ichiya. He had a distinctively large head, with orange fur arranged in a wavy style with a fringe hanging on his forehead. He also wore a red hat with a cat symbol on it. Appearing to be some type of soldier, he wore a royal blue army coat with a brown belt. He also wore a two-panel apron, with some type of military logo imprinted on it, dark green pants, and brown boots. Lastly, he carried a sword encased in a scabbard. And much like Ichiya, this cat was standing with his index and middle fingers pointed out. Are you two the ones who completed their mission in Earthland? The flashy cat asked the stunned Happy and Carla, receiving no reply from either of them. Taking another trait from Ichiya, the cat took several long sniffs of the air. Yes, what a great perfume. Ichiya? Happy nervously exclaimed as he dove to hide behind Carla. Who are you? This is really weird. What are you talking about? The Ichiya look-alike cat asked in a confused tone, quirking an eyebrow. We're the same, Exceed. Nichiyo-san. A new voice said as another cat entered the room. This new cat was a black Exceed. His tail was thin and rectangular. He had a large, black, rectangular head, with a large portion below his nose being white. His eyes were perfectly round with small white eyebrows that took the shape similar to a scalene triangle, as well as pink ears and two whiskers on each side of his face. This new cat wore a black jacket with 3 golden buttons and a light-colored turtleneck beneath it. He also wore a dark yellow pair of pants and small, ankle-high boots that were brown in color. It's their first time being in Idolas. The new cat said as he put one hand behind his back while the other waved energetically. It's probably their first time seeing another Exceed. Oh. I see now. Nichiya exclaimed, smiling at Happy and Carla, which slightly unsettled both cats. I am the captain of Extalia's Imperial Guard. My name is Nichiya. And I'm Nadi, Minister of State. The now-named Nadi said as his arm continued to rapidly wave around. Good job on your mission. Mission. Happy repeated in a confused tone, glancing over at Carla, who seemed to be in an even worse mood. That scary lady who looked like Urza mentioned a mission too. I'm afraid that we mustn't delay any further. Nichiya said as he turned around and began to walk out of the room, gesturing for Happy and Carla to follow him. The Queen is waiting for us, so please follow me. The Queen. There's a queen here? Happy exclaimed nervously, glancing over at Carla. The white-furred cat still appeared to be quite downtrodden. Carla, you can leave things to me this time. For now, we just need to follow these guys. Reaching out, Happy took Carla's hand and began to gently lead her out of the room. Don't worry, I'll keep you safe, no matter what. Nadi and Nichiya quickly lead Happy and Carla out of the building they were staying in. When they finally stepped outside, Happy was stunned by what he saw. In a bustling city all around him were dozens upon dozens of other cats that looked just like him and Carla. These cats were selling goods, playing games, teaching lessons, and numerous other things you'd see happening in a normal city. As Happy and Carla walked by, he overheard several of the cats talking about them, even referring to them as heroes for some reason. It's an entire country full of cats. Happy said as he watched a group of children run past, appearing to be playing tag. I've never seen anything like this before. We're not cats, we're exceeds. We stand above humans and guide them. We are the exceed. Nadi said, pointing toward a banner with the same cat symbol that was on Nichiya's uniform. And this is our kingdom, Extalia. 10 minutes later, Extalia's royal castle. You see, humans are quite simple-minded, inferior people. Nadi continued his ramblings as he and Nichiya lead Happy and Carla through the castle's winding corridors. We have to be careful and manage them properly. The queen governs over the humans from this castle. Ugh, those humans have a terrible perfume, simply awful. Nichiya said, his nose crinkling in disgust as his brow furrowed. However, his revulsion was soon replaced with delight as his cheeks flushed slightly. The queen, however, has a lovely scent. It's truly troublesome when they start to increase in number despite our urges not to. The queen has ruled that any additional humans. Nate said in a sweet, yet menacing, tone as he turned to face Happy. The blue-furred cat felt a chill run down his spine when he saw the frightening look in Nadi's eyes. Are to be executed. What? Why would you do that? Happy exclaimed in utter shock at what he just heard, nearly tripping over the stairs they were climbing. Why would you kill innocent people? Innocent? That's a funny joke. As for why we need to manage the human population, it is to normalize the magic that we are steadily losing. Nadi explained as he turned to look back at Happy and Carla. That is what Her Majesty said. The Queen not only governs the humans of this world but also those living in Earthland as well. Her Majesty has the power to do that. Nichiya added in a serious tone, leading the small group around a corner. Because she is a god. A god. Happy breathed out as he felt a strange chill across his body. This place is becoming stranger and stranger the more I learn about it. What was our mission? Carla asked, stopping in her tracks just as a bell tolled in the distance. It's been ground into me since the moment I was born. That I was chosen in accordance with the Queen's human management plans. To kill the Dragon Slayer, Wendy. What? Happy said in utter shock as he felt his heart skip a beat. His entire body felt cold as he whipped around to face Carla. What are you talking about, Carla? Answer me right now. Be quiet. Carla said barely above a whisper, turning her head away from Happy as she tried to avoid his gaze. You don't know Dash. Don't give me that. What do you mean by kill, Wendy? Happy yelled, which caused Carla to flinch slightly. However, before Happy could say any more, he immediately froze up when he came to a sudden realization. Wait, if your mission was to kill Wendy, does that mean no? No. That can't be true. It has to be a lie. They say ignorance is bliss, right? Carla said as she watched Happy start to tremble and break down. You wanted to know our mission. I won't believe it, I would never hurt Natsu. Happy stammered out, feeling tears sting his eyes. There's no way, my mission was to kill Natsu. Please, try to calm down, Happy. Carla said as she turned to face Nadi and Nichiya. We have not completed our missions and have no intentions to do so. Why have you told us that we have? This is odd. Nichiya said, stroking his chin as he quirked an eyebrow. Perhaps it is memory loss? Well, we didn't have any other choice. Nadi said as he shrugged his shoulders. Superimposition has several different side effects. Don't ignore us. Carla exclaimed, pointing at Nadi and Nichiya as she glared at both cats. Answer my question. No need to get so worked up, I'll explain. Nadi said with a smile as he energetically waved his arm. Following the Queen's human management plans, 100 Exceed were sent to Earthland 6 years ago. They were provided with the necessary information in order to find and destroy the Dragon Slayers once they hatched. However, when the man-made anima appeared and created new possibilities, it changed the plan. It was something created not to kill humans, but to make use of their magical energy. No. 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 Happy repeated like a mantra, biting his lip to fight back tears as he violently shook his head. This isn't true, no. No. For the dragon slayers, when they were absorbed by the anima, they were turned into a special magical energy. Nadi continued, his overly happy demeanor was quite unsettling when contrasted by his dark explanation of the Queen's plan. Because of this, your mission was changed at the last minute. It was modified from killing the dragon slayers to capturing them. Shut up, stop talking. Carla choked out as tears began to stream down her cheeks. I wanted to protect Wendy, because I cared about her, not because of Dash. Wrong. That was simply your mind playing tricks on you. Nadi said in a menacing tone, seeming to tower over Carla as she began to tremble uncontrollably. Your mission was changed from destroy to capture, in other words, it was modified to befriend the target. I said stop talking. Carla screamed as she fell to her knees, covering her ears in an attempt to stop herself from hearing any more of Nadi's cruel words. This is all a lie. All of your actions were subject to our commands. Nichia said in a cold tone as he looked down at Carla with an uncaring gaze. Everything you've done has been Dash. Enough! Happy yelled, rushing over and standing protectively in front of Carla. The blue-furred cat's face was twisted in rage as he grit his teeth, a few angry tears escaping his eyes. We're not some puppets for you to control. Untying his green backpack, Happy dropped it to the ground and turned his back toward Nadi and Nichia, proudly displaying his fairy tale guild symbol. We are mages of fairy tale. Happy. Carla managed to say as she weakly tried to wipe away her tears. I never knew he had the strength to stand up for himself like this. Let's go, Carla. Happy exclaimed, suddenly grabbing the white-furred cat's hand and dragging her away from Nadia and Nichia, which seemed to surprise both cats. We're going to save them by ourselves. Don't worry, we'll definitely save them. This is. Nichia said in a shocked tone as he watched Happy and Carla run off. Really bad. A rebellion. Nadi muttered, breaking out into a cold sweat as he trembled slightly. Those Exceed have been poisoned by the impurities of Earthland and become rebels. Mean. Nichia exclaimed as he dramatically fell to his knees, comical tears streaming down his face. 2 rebels have escaped. Imperial guards, stop them now. Come on, Carla, we need to dash. Happy was cut off mid-sentence when he spotted several massive guards starting to chase after them. Wah! We really need to move now. Dodging and jumping over several sword swings, Happy and Carla eventually managed to pull away from the guards, bursting back out on the busy streets. Happy pulled Carla into a bustling area full of vendors selling goods in an attempt to slow the guards down. Out of our way. Get out of our way. Spotting a nearby wooden cart full of hay, Happy quickly jumped inside with Carla. Let's hide in here. Happy and Carla waited in silence, listening for the guards to run past them. After a few moments, they heard dozens of footsteps hurriedly move past the cart they were in. Poking his head out, Happy breathed a sigh of relief when he spotted a large group of guards running in the opposite direction. However, just as Happy was about to help Carla out of the cart, he yelped in surprise as they began to roll down a steep slope. Hang on, Carla! Happy yelled as he held on to Carla tightly, making sure she didn't go flying out of the cart. Carla meekly nodded her head and allowed Happy to hold her close. Eventually, the cart reached the bottom of the slope and tipped over, throwing Happy and Carla out of it. Now slightly battered and bruised, Happy groaned as he slowly got back onto his feet. Ugh, are you okay, Carla? Yeah, I am fine. Carla replied, getting up and dusting herself off. However, Carla stopped when she noticed something floating off in the distance. Happy! Look at that! What is it? Happy stopped talking when he noticed what Carla was looking at. The massive lacrima they had seen earlier was floating nearby. The lacrima is floating. Everyone in Fairy Tale is trapped in there. It was then that Happy noticed that they were actually on a large island floating above the capital. Whoa! This place was a floating island the entire time. The rest of the kingdom is so far below us, Carla said, gazing over the edge of the island at the capital city below. Is there any way we can get down? Since we can't fly right now. Oi! What are you young'uns doing in my field? A sudden gruff, angry shout caught both Happy and Carla off guard. Turning around, they spotted an elderly-looking Exceed sporting white fur, thin black facial hair, and a monobrow. His attire consisted of an open blue vest with a yellow t-shirt, a straw hat, with holes cut out for his ears, green pants, and a brown pair of shoes with pointed toes. This new Exceed was brandishing a hoe as a weapon as he glared at Happy and Carla. Oh, I get it now, you two must be those damned rebels the soldiers were yelling about. We're sorry about intruding. Happy said in an apologetic tone, catching the upset, older Exceed off guard. We were hiding in a cart and it rolled into your fields. We'll leave right. Happy was cut off when heard yelling in the distance. Turning toward the tree line, he could clearly see a group of soldiers running toward them. Oh no, they're here already. Growling. HRMMM. The older Exceed grumbled as he crossed his arms, seeming to be mulling something over in his head. After a few moments, he dropped his hoe and grunted. Alright, yeah, little brats, get the hell out of my fields. Happy and Carla were instantly worried at the sudden rejection as they watched the soldiers draw even closer. However, they both breathed a sigh of relief when the older Exceed suddenly pointed toward his house. And into my house, damn it. 10 minutes later. Era, that sounds so troublesome. A new elderly Exceed said as she walked into the home's dining room, just as Happy finished explaining their situation. This new Exceed appeared to be the farmer's wife. She was covered in blue fur, almost exactly like Happy's, and wore a white dress, over which she had on a yellow apron. She also sported a dark green scarf, with holes cut out for her ears, which was wrapped around her head in a similar fashion to a hijab. I hope you little ones are doing okay. By the way, I'm Marl and you've already met my husband, Lucky. Ma'am, thank you so much for hiding us. Happy said with a smile, watching as Marl set a plate of fish down on the table. We really appreciate it. Ka! Stop yammerin' already! Lucky exclaimed as he angrily pounded his fist on the table. You two must be starving, so eat up. Thank you. Carla said in a dejected tone, staring down at her lap. You people are very kind. Our household doesn't conform to the will of the kingdom. Marl said as she set down a tray full of drinks. We were exiled quite a long time ago and live out here now. Ka! Why you go and tell 'em that? Lucky yelled, slamming his fist onto the table once again. That's nothing they need to know. Okay, dear. Marl said as she began to walk toward the kitchen. Don't go scaring out guests now. I see, so that's why you both took us in. Happy said with a smile, grabbing a fish and taking a bite out of it. Carla's right, you really are kind people. Bah, that's got nothing to do with it. Lucky said in a surprisingly caring tone as he crossed his arms over his chest. However, his didn't last long before his angry demeanor quickly returned. After you finish eating, go take a bath. We'll provide some fresh clothes for you. And a place to sleep. Ka! Now stop yappin' and start eatin'. Several hours later, both Happy and Carla had eaten, washed up, and rested. Both fairy tale cats were seated on the back porch of Marl and Lucky's home, gazing out at a small personal garden. Happy appeared to be a bit more upbeat, but Carla still seemed to be quite downtrodden. So, your names are Happy and Carla? My oh my, those are such beautiful names. Marl said with a sweet smile, walking up behind both cats. You were both born in Earthland, right? Who gave you those names? Natsu gave me my name. Happy proclaimed as he hopped up and turned to face Marl. He's my best friend. The same goes for me. Carla replied, not even turning to look at Marl as she continued to stare down at her lap. A dear friend gave me my name. Those friends are being held captive in the capital. Happy said with a determined look in his eyes as he balled his fists. We have to go rescue them. So, you're going to rescue humans? Marl asked, stepping in between Happy and Carla. That sounds quite dangerous. I know that in Ixtalia, such things sound ludicrous, Carla said as she tightly gripped the edge of the porch. But we have to save them. Oh, don't be ridiculous, dearie. I think what you're doing is wonderful, Marl said with a smile, surprising both Happy and Carla. It really doesn't matter whether your friends are human or exceed. Because, even if we look different, our feelings toward each other are the same. Feelings, it feels like my feelings are being manipulated by someone else, Carla said as she released a light sigh. Even right now, I can't be sure whether it's really me speaking these words. Don't talk like that, Carla. Of course, it's your words. Of course, it's your feelings, Happy proclaimed, surprising Carla with his sudden declaration. Our feelings of wanting to rescue our friends, those are absolutely our own. You seem a bit lost right now, dear. But I'm sure everything will be okay, Marl said in a caring tone as she patted Carla's shoulder. Besides, you have such a wonderful knight right here protecting you. Being called a knight caused Happy's face to flush red in embarrassment. You will be able to find your own heart. No, I'm sure you already have it. All that's left is for you to recognize it. And trust that feeling of friendship. You're a strange lady, Carla said, smiling for the first time in quite a while as everything Marl had said resonated with her. But not in a bad way. Is that so? Marl said with a chuckle as she rested her head on her palm. The Exceeds seem themselves as angels or something similar. They believe that humans are a lesser species. In the past, even I used to think that way, but my children were taken by the Queen. For the Dragon Slayer assassination plan, 100 eggs were collected. And before I could even see my child's face, they were sent to Earthland. It was because we opposed this plan, we were exiled. That's terrible, Happy said, understanding why Marl and Lucky seemed to resent the kingdom. I'm so sorry that happened to you both. No need to apologize, dear. It was about time that we figured it out. We aren't gods or angels, just parents, Marl said as she stared out at the vast sky overhead. Once I realized that humans and Exceeds, and all those other things didn't matter anymore. My husband may cuss and yell, but he feels the same way as me. Ka! Stop spouting all that nonsense, Lucky shouted as he stormed over, stopping next to his wife. How long are you moochers planning to stay for? Sitting around, moping, and making such depressing faces. Be happy that you are alive. Ka! Stop acting like pampered brats. Now hurry up and get going. Come now, Lucky, Marl said, glancing at both Happy and Carla. You don't have to throw them out so suddenly. No. He's right, Happy said with a determined look as he pumped his fist into the air. We can't waste any more time and need to go rescue everyone. TCH, if you're shaking in fear, then you won't be able to do anything, Lucky scoffed, crossing his arms over his chest. You young ones today don't even know that. Thank you, Mr. Ma'am, Happy exclaimed as he led Carla away from the small farmhouse. Thank you so much for everything. Ka! Never come back here again, Lucky yelled, angrily shaking his fist. Now get out of here. For real this time. Please watch out and take care, Marl said as she waved goodbye to their short-term guests. I just know you'll save your friends. You know, Carla, ever since I arrived in Idalos I've been filled with so much anxiety, Happy said, approaching the edge of the island with Carla. It's been eating away at me for a while now. Yeah, I felt the same, Carla said as she nodded her head, completely understanding Happy's feelings. Ever since we got here, I've felt a bit off. But that stops here, Happy exclaimed with a smile, before grabbing Carla's hand as both cats leaped off the floating. We have to go forward. We have to fly. We are Exceed, Carla thought as she began to fall toward the ground below with Happy at her side. The only ones who are capable of storing magic within our bodies. We could not use magic before because our hearts were uneasy. Then, like a mental block had been removed, both Happy and Carla began to soar through the air as their wings re-emerged. Both Happy and Carla smiled at each other as they began to gracefully fly through the sky. "Let's go, Happy. We have to save everyone." "Aye, sir," Happy exclaimed, letting go of Carla's hand as they increased their speed. "Don't worry, Natsu, we're coming." "Ka. So he can fly properly," Lucky exclaimed as he watched Happy and Carla zip around. "Why didn't he do so sooner? He looks exactly like you when you're flying," Marl said, walking up next to her husband. "Such beautiful flying." "Ka. Don't be stupid. It's not the way he flies," Lucky yelled as he felt tears start to sting his eyes. "One look and of course I'd notice it. There's no way I wouldn't." "You're right," Marl chalked out, tears streaming down her cheeks as she gripped her apron. "I wonder if that pretty girl was his girlfriend." "Kaah." Lucky shouted as his tears finals began to fall, unable to hold them back any longer. It's way too early for him to be bringing a girl home. Same time, back in Idola's royal castle. "Ihehim, show it is true what they say," Byro said with a smirk, clasping his hands together. "We discovered that those mages from Earthland all store magic within their body." It's almost like they're Exceed," Sugar Boy said as he nodded his head and crossed his arms. "That's quite interesting. That may be true, but their magical power can't compare to that of any Exceed," Byro added, scoffing and shrugging his shoulders. "Nothing can compare to an Exceed. So, does that mean that Lucy Girl also has magical energy in her body?" Hughes asked, which caused Byro to nod his head. "If that's true, then it's a good thing we haven't killed her yet. We should try to find a way to drain her power indefinitely." "No," Faust said sternly, glaring at Hughes, which silenced any protests he may have had. "The Queen of the Exceed, Shagat, has ordered that girl's execution. It's the Queen's orders, so we can't disobey," Coco said as she furrowed her brow. "I feel kinda bad for that Lucy girl. Man, what a fucking waste." Hughes cursed, throwing his back and releasing a heavy sigh. However, Hughes felt a chill run down his spine as remembered Natsu's face, remembering his threatening words. Damn, that guy looked like an animal. I'd hate to see what he's like after we kill this Lucy chick. I must ask, what are we going to do with those two dragon slayers? Panther Lily asked as he glanced at everyone gathered at the table around him. That pink-haired one is making quite the ruckus. Apparently, he even knocked out one of the guards who was watching his cell. Ah yes, the humans who aren't quite human, Byro said with a dark chuckle, tapping his fingertips together. If our experiments are successful, we will have found a semi-permanent source of magical power. Very good, Byro. Begin your tests immediately, Faust said as everyone at the table cheered and congratulated him for possibly finding a solution to their magic shortage problems. But also hurry up with the extraction of magical energy from the Earthland lacrima. We must be prepared for the unlikely chance that some unpredicted complications arise. Heh, it won't be much longer before our world has magic again. Faust laughed, pushing away from the table and getting out of his seat. It's going to be great. There are so many things I want to try, Sugar Boy muttered as he stroked his chin, walking out of the room with Hughes and Coco. Perhaps I'll try magical surfing. What is wrong, Lily? Faust asked, noticing that the massive Exceed had stayed behind. You seem to be troubled by something. Your Majesty, with the regard to the recent bolstering of military armaments. Lily stared to say but stopped when he noticed the dangerous look Faust was giving him. Releasing a light sigh, Lily decided that it was best to drop the subject. No. Never mind. Please excuse me. Same time, Lucy's cell. So, Happy and Carla are a part of a race called Exceed, and the Exceed exist in this world and are viewed as some type of angel. Their queen is named Shagat, who they revere as a god, her word is law, and her main job is to manage the humans. If she merely mentions the word die, the human in question is killed. Lucy muttered, sitting on the floor of her cell and staring down at her cuffed wrists. This place, nothing here makes sense. Tightly balling her fists, Lucy sniffled a few times as she fought back tears. I miss Natsu. Unconsciously, Lucy reached up to touch her mate Mark but sighed in disappointment when she couldn't quite reach it. I hope he's okay. Seems like you miss your lover. Lucy yelped in surprise when she heard a new voice suddenly speak up from the door of her cell. Looking up, she saw Urza Nightwalker staring down at her. Since you're Ashley's Earthland counterpart, I guess Natsu is the one you're pining over. Yes, Natsu and I are in love, Lucy said, locking eyes with Nightwalker. But he's also with Earthland Urza too. This seemed to catch Nightwalker off guard momentarily as she seemed taken aback by this revelation. Natsu wasn't lying earlier. He knows your situation too well. You need to talk with Ashley and Dragaon, you three can work things out. I. Nightwalker said as she seriously seemed to be contemplating what Lucy had said. However, her eyes suddenly hardened and she glared at the blonde-haired mage. Enough. I won't hear any more of this nonsense. Fine, you're as stubborn as my Urza. Lucy muttered, releasing a heavy sigh. Will you at least tell me if my friends are okay? Yeah, they're fine. Nightwalker replied as she opened the door and walked into the cell. For now at least. Hiya, that's such a relief. Lucy breathed out, her shoulders slacking as she let out a long exhale. I was seriously worried. You're relieved? Nightwalker repeated in a confused tone as she quirked an eyebrow. Do you not understand the situation you're in? Oh yeah, I guess it's true that I'm in a precarious spot, Lucy said with a small smile, chuckling for a moment. Your face, and your voice, they're just like the Urza I know, and she's like a sister to me. So, I guess that I unconsciously loosened up a bit. The Earthland version of me, huh? Nightwalker said as her eyes narrowed slightly as she began to ponder what Lucy had said. Did she really find happiness with Natsu? Was she really able to make a relationship between the three of them work out? You know, in my world, you were a part of fairy tale too, Lucy revealed, shocking Nightwalker and snapping her out of her thoughts. You were always so strong and cool, a little scary at times, but everyone in the guild relied on you. Despite that, you could be quite girly, fussing over your hair and wanting to wear cute clothes. And don't get me started on strawberry cake, ha ha ha. Enough. Nightwalker said as she cut Lucy off, grabbing the blonde mage by her hair and dragging her out of the cell. Lucy hissed in pain as she tried in vain to free herself from Nightwalker's grasp. I've heard enough out of you and Natsu, I won't have you poisoning my mind and clouding my judgment. I hate to break it to you, but I'm not the Urza you know. And no. I can't believe that. Lucy grunted as she gave up trying to break free, knowing that it was useless. You may say you're different, but deep down, I get the feeling that you're the same. You're not the type of person who would laugh and mock someone else's suffering. UOF. Lucy grunted in pain as Nightwalker threw her against a low wall. Quickly regaining her composure, Lucy tried one last time to plead with Nightwalker. Please. You have to help me. I just want to save my friends. I want to save Natsu. I said that I've heard enough out of you. So, stop trying to get into my head. Nightwalker said, thrusting out a multi-pronged spear and using it to lift Lucy up by her cuffs. Lucy screamed when Nightwalker hoisted the blonde mage over the wall and dangled her over a several-story drop. You're going to die here. Then your friends are going to die. That includes Natsu. I'll make sure his death is relatively quick and painless. No. No. Lucy yelled as she began to thrash around, anger starting to bubble up inside her. Don't you dare hurt Natsu. Don't you dare hurt my friends. You've really got the wrong impression of me. I do love watching people suffer. Nightwalker said with a devious smirk, slowly releasing her spear's grip on Lucy's cuffs. I've got the nickname Fairy Hunter for a reason, I've killed countless fairy tale mages. And soon that will include Earthland fairy tale members. Saying such vile and wicked things with Urza's voice and face, putting my friends in danger, threatening my mate. Lucy roared in an uncharacteristically ferocious tone as she glared fiercely at Nightwalker. The scarlet-haired knight gasped when she saw Lucy's eyes turn almost animalistic, the air around her heating up and crackling with electricity. Reaching out, Lucy grabbed a hold of Nightwalker's spear as her entire body was suddenly engulfed in roaring flames and sparking electricity, her cuffs literally melting off her wrists. "I won't allow it. You won't have long. But use our power wisely." Swinging herself forward, Lucy hit Nightwalker in the stomach with a powerful kick, sending the knight skidding backward. Nightwalker hissed in pain as she gripped her stomach, a thin trail of smoke lingering where Lucy had hit her. However, before Nightwalker could question or even fully comprehend what was happening, her eyes widened as leaped out of the way of another attack from Lucy. But Lucy wasn't about to let Nightwalker get away, and she was on the knight almost immediately. Pouncing onto the knight, Lucy struck Nightwalker with a flaming punch to the jaw. Feeling Natsu's magic rapidly depleting from within her, Lucy cocked her fist back to knock Nightwalker out cold. But before Lucy could land her attack, something stopped her. "Lucy!" Hearing a familiar voice, Lucy's fist stopped just a few inches away from Nightwalker's face, the flames grazing the knight's skin. Whipping around, Lucy was surprised to see Happy and Carla floating in the air behind her. "Wow, looks like you didn't need our help." "Happy! Carla!" Lucy exclaimed in a relieved tone as she exhaled in exhaustion, feeling the flames and electricity encasing her body fizzle out. Clasping her head, Lucy got off Nightwalker, who was still too frazzled to move. "I'm so glad to see you both. As impressive as that display was, we really need to get going," Carla said, flying down and picking up Lucy. "Don't worry about Nightwalker. Hey, you guys got your wings back," Lucy said with a smile as Carla lifted her into the air. "When did that happen?" "It was apparently a problem with our hearts," Happy said, flying up next to Lucy and hugging her. "It's so good to fly again. I hated walking everywhere. Exceed, what the hell?" Nightwalker said as she slowly got back onto her feet, rubbing her bruised jaw. "The Queen's orders were to kill that girl. That order was retracted," Carla said, passing Lucy over to Happy. "You don't have to worry about this girl anymore." "That may be so, but even if it's an order from an Exceed, you don't have the power to overrule an order from the Queen," Nightwalker said as she spat some blood out of her mouth, glaring at the three fairy tale mages. "Please hand that girl back over to me and I'll confirm the change in order myself." "How arrogant of you, lowly human," Carla said in a haughty tone, surprising both Lucy and Happy. However, neither Happy nor Lucy was prepared for what Carla was about to say next. "Who do you think you're speaking to?" "I am Carla, daughter of Queen Shagat, and Princess of Extalia." I humbly apologize, ma'am," Nightwalker exclaimed as her eyes widened in shock, instantly dropping onto one knee and bowing her head. "I ask that you please forgive my rudeness. We'll discuss your punishment later," Carla said, keeping up her royal facade as stared down at Nightwalker. "Now where is the Dragon Slayers?" "They're in the basement in the West Tower," Nightwalker instantly replied as she kept her head lowered, not daring to look up at the Exceed. "They're safe for now. Release them immediately," Carla ordered, immediately cutting Nightwalker off as she was about to protest. "Don't speak, just do it." "Urza." Nightwalker was surprised to hear a familiar voice call out to her. Turning her head, she saw Panther Lily and several guards running toward her. "Don't listen to them. Who the hell is that guy?" Lucy exclaimed, being caught off guard seeing an Exceed like Panther Lily. "I've never seen anything like him before. Those two are fallen Exceed," Lily yelled as he growled and bared his fangs. "They're fleeing from Extalia. We're getting out of here now," Carla said, turning around and flying away as fast as possible. "Let's move, Happy." Hold on a second," Lucy exclaimed as she stared at Carla in a mixture of shock and confusion. "So you aren't a princess? It looks like being branded fallen means we're traitors or something," Happy said, both cats diving away from the building. Guess we're in real trouble now. You bastards. Nightwalker snarled as she watched the three fairy tale mages fly away, slamming her fist onto the stone railing and breaking off a chunk of it. Whipping around, Nightwalker barked at the soldiers that had arrived with Lily. Announcement for all troops. The fallen Exceed have escaped with a prisoner. The fallen Exceed have white and blue fur. If they are found, kill them immediately. Thanks, both of you. Lucy said, breathing a sigh of relief as they soared through the air. Natsu's magic ran out as soon as you arrived. So it's true, your mate Mark truly allows you to tap into Natsu's magic for a limited time. That's amazing. Carla said as she glanced back at Lucy, feeling a pang of guilt. Aren't you mad at me? Huh? Lucy said in a confused tone, quirking an eyebrow. Why would I be angry? We were the reason you were all caught in the first place. Carla admitted as she turned her head away, unable to look Lucy in the eye. Our mission was to capture the dragon slayers, so we lead you into a trap. But you came to save me, that's all that matters. Lucy said with a smile, looking at both Happy and Carla. Seeing that the blue-furred cat still seemed uneasy, Lucy frowned and flicked his nose. Listen, I said that I'm not angry. I mean it. I'm more surprised to learn that Carla is the Queen's daughter. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Happy said as he turned his attention back toward Carla. That's crazy, Carla. That was obviously a lie. Carla said in a deadpan tone, crossing her arms over her chest. When Carla glanced back over at Happy, she huffed whe she saw him grinning at her. What are you smiling about, Happy? Nothing, it's nothing. Happy said as his smile widened. I was just thinking that was totally something you would do. Shut up. Carla exclaimed, her face flushing a light shade of red. More importantly, we need to go rescue Natsu and Wendy. Aye, sir. Happy cheered as both Exceed sped toward a tower in the distance. Didn't Nightwalker say that they were being held in the basement of the West Tower? Hold on second, guys. Lucy said, hearing a strange sound echoing in the distance. Do you hear that? Yeah, it's Happy stopped mid-sentence when he turned around and spotted a small army of Exceed flying toward them. Gah! They found us. We found you. Nichiya shouted as he led the brigade of Exceed soldiers. Get the fallen traitors. It'll be too hard to lose them in the air. Carla yelled, instantly diving toward the ground. We need to head down to the surface. Hold on a second, Carla. Happy screamed in a panicked tone as he noticed Carla was diving directly toward a gathering of Idola soldiers, being led by Nightwalker. We need to find another way. There are enemies on the ground and in the sky. Lucy exclaimed as she looked between both groups of foes. What the hell are we going to do? Chapter 55 Backup arrives. There are enemies on the ground and in the sky. Lucy exclaimed as she looked between the Idola soldiers on the ground and the Exceed in the air. What the hell are we going to do? What about your celestial spirits, Lucy? Carla asked, gesturing toward the pouch of gate keys on Lucy's hip. Can't one of your spirits help us? Sorry, but using Natsu's magic earlier really drained me. I need a bit longer to recover. Lucy replied as she released a shaky breath and shook her head, a thin sheen of sweat coating her forehead. And even if I could use my magic, there's too many people. I don't think any of my spirits could handle them all. What the hell? Faust breathed out, tightly gripping the windowsill he was leaning against as he watched the scene unfold from the castle. Someone tell me what's happening. It seems like the Extalia Imperial Guard is attacking in pursuit of some fallen traitors. Coco explained as she tirelessly ran up and down the hallway behind Faust. Things seem like they're about to get hairy out there. Faust growled, his brow furrowing in anger as he glared at the Legion of Exceed approaching the capital. Then, he said something that caused Coco to stop in her tracks, a look of pure fear on her face. Invoke code ETD. Let's try to lose them in these buildings. Carla yelled as she veered toward a row of partially concealed buildings below them, Happy and Lucy following right behind her. However, as the fleeing fairy tale mages neared the possible escape route, they were surprised when dozens of Idolas soldiers lined on the walls above them. The Idolas soldiers waved large red flags with strange symbols on them and blared horns that echoed throughout the capital. What in hell is going on now? No matter, we need to get into those buildings. Code ETD? Nightwalker gasped, hearing the horns signaling the operation's start. Why at a time like this? The final defense plan for national security. Sugarboy muttered as she stroked his chin, watching as spotlights lit up across the capital. I never thought I'd actually see it in action. But these weren't normal spotlights. One by one, these magical spotlights turned toward the large group of Extalia Exceed. Then, in unison, just before the Exceed could catch up with the fairy tale mages, all the spotlights seemed to trap the cats. Before the flying cats could realize what was happening, they began to howl and scream in pain as the lights seemingly began to sap away their magical power. What is going on? Lucy breathed out in shock as she watched the Exceed writhe and yell in agony, unable to escape from the spotlight's beams. I thought they saw the Exceed as gods or angels. Are they rebelling or something? I wonder what they intend to do. Happy muttered, feeling a chill run down his spine as he witnessed the other Exceed experience what seemed to be excruciating pain. I feel kind of bad for them. It doesn't matter what they intend to do, Carla said as she turned her attention back toward the buildings they had originally been heading toward. We need to take advantage of this chaos and escape. This might be our only chance to rescue Natsu and Wendy. Damn! The fallen ones and the prisoner! Nightwalker exclaimed, watching as the fleeing fairy tale mages sped away. They're going to try to free the prisoners in the West Tower. Fortify all the defenses there. You damned humans, the Queen! Nichia growled as he felt all of his magical power being drained from his body, moments before everything around him started to go dark. Won't let this dash. Nichia never got to finish, as all of the Extalia Exceeds that had been trapped in the spotlights were transformed into a massive, cat-shaped lacrima. The Idolas soldiers watched in awe as the impressive lacrima crashed to the ground, shimmering with immense magical power. None of them dared approach the lacrima, almost as if it were a taboo object. The Exceed. They all turned into a lacrima. Damn it, we've really stirred the pot now. Is this really okay? There's no going back from this. There are no gods in this world. Faust's voice snapped the soldiers out of their stunned stupor, all turning to face the castle, where their king was standing on a balcony. Only us humans suffer with limited magical power. Meanwhile, the Exceed indulge in their limitless magic. When that limitlessness is so close, why should we not make use of it? We've officially ended this age of being ruled over. This is all for the future of mankind. We do this to build an abundant, magical society. Hear me, my soldiers. Let us rise up together. I hereby invoke Code ETD. The soldiers began to rally around their king, cheering and chanting his name. The plan to eliminate all angels. Things are starting to get real, Hughes laughed, clasping his hands behind his head. I'm starting to get excited. I suppose it was merely a matter of time. Sugarboy said as he shrugged his shoulders. Those Exceed could only push us around for so long before we pushed back. So this is what that military buildup was for. Lily growled, balling his fists and glaring up at Faust. You won't get away with this, Faust. If we steal the Exceed's magic, our nation can take hold of that infinite magical energy. Faust said as he stared out at his army of cheering soldiers. Nothing will be able to stand in our way. But, Your Majesty! Coco exclaimed, darting around the room and spinning in a panic. The Queen of Extalis will surely retaliate. Their military might is extraordinary. That's why we captured those dragon slayers. Faust explained as a menacing look spread across his face. Their power will be instrumental. This will be our only chance to bring down the gods. Hurry up and extract the dragon slayer magic, Pyro. Same time, dungeon underneath the West Tower. Yesh, everything is going smoothly. Byro said with a sadistic smile, tightening the chains binding Natsu and Wendy. Taking a few steps back, Byro gazed at the dragon slayers as they were bound to large stone slabs with draconic symbols on them. Grabbing 2 cables, Byro prepared to connect them to start the magic extraction process. With their power, we'll be unstoppable. Ugh hi. Natsu groaned as his fluttered open, everything appearing blurry for several. When Natsu went to rub his eyes, he was surprised to find that he could move them. With a grunt of exertion, Natsu tried to break free of his bindings. After several failed attempts, Natsu released a heavy sigh and gave up. What the fuck is going? The pink-haired dragon slayer stopped mid-sentence, his eyes widening when he spotted Wendy, chained up on a stone slab next to him. Wendy! Are you okay? Please, say something. It would have been better if you were still unconscious. Byro said with a smirk, causing Natsu's head to snap toward him. Despite the pink-haired dragon slayer being completely immobilized, Byro took a fearful step back when he saw the furious look in Natsu's eyes. They shish going to hurt, a lot. Don't you dare hurt Wendy, you sick fuck. Natsu roared as he began to violently thrash against the stone slab, his muscles and veins bulging as he desperately tried to break the chains keeping him trapped. Seeing that Byro was about to connect 2 cables, Natsu gave one last, powerful pull, managing to break one of his arms free. However, just as Natsu was about to break the chain binding his other arm, Byro connected the cables. When I get free, I'm going to write those each. Same time, streets of Idola's capital. We need to hurry. Something big is going down. Happy said, running through the streets of the capital with Lucy and Carla. I hope we find Natsu and Wendy soon. I can't believe that the humans are going to war with the Exceed. Lucy said as she reached up and rubbed her mate Mark, feeling its comforting warmth. Natsu, please be okay. Their fight has nothing to do with us. Carla said bluntly, turning down an alley that led toward the West Tower. We're not on either side of this battle, so let them do as they please. As the fairy tale mages neared the end of the alley, they were stopped when a spear impaled itself in the ground, stopping them in their path. Leaping away from the spear, Lucy stood in front of Happy and Carla, doing her best to shield them. Turning toward where the spears had come from, the fairy tale mages were surprised to see a group of Idola's soldiers being led by Nightwalker approaching them. You will not pass this point. Nightwalker said as she and her soldiers filled the alley, completely blocking it. You fairy tale mages, stop here. What the hell? Don't you have other things to worry about? Lucy exclaimed, tightly balling her fists and glaring at Nightwalker. Why are you still chasing us? However, instead of saying anything, Nightwalker merely smirked and snapped her fingers. Lucy was confused for a moment, but her eyes widened in surprise when the spears that had been thrown at them suddenly began to hum and glow brightly. Reacting instinctively, Lucy grabbed a hold of Happy and Carla, using her body to shield both cats, just as the spear exploded, sending her flying backward. Skidding several feet, Lucy eventually came to a stop, now battered and bruised by the explosion. Coughing and sputtering, Lucy set Happy and Carla back down, both cats largely unscathed. Huh, so you're still alive even after taking a hit from my magic? Nightwalker said in a mildly impressed tone as she approached and grabbed her spear. Locking eyes with Lucy, the scarlet-haired knight smirked and rubbed her sore jaw. First that incredible burst of magical power earlier, and now you use your body to protect those Exceed and survive one of my attacks. You are just full of surprises. I like that. Screw you. Lucy spat as she glared fiercely at Nightwalker, slowly getting back onto her feet. Lucy went to reach for her gate keys but stopped when her enhanced hearing picked up 2 distinct screams coming from the West Tower. Those screams, that's Natsu and Wendy. Clenching her teeth, a growl rumbled in Lucy's throat. What the hell are you doing to Natsu and Wendy? Answer me, now. We're taking the magic we need from them for code ETD. Nightwalker explained, pausing for a moment when another scream, even louder than before, echoed down the alley. It's a very painful process. Stop. Carla begged as she heard another scream, that she knew was Wendy, feeling tears stream down her cheeks. Stop it, please. Stop hurting, Wendy. I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. Nightwalker said, raising her spear and aiming it at Carla. "You're all going to die here, so you'll be seeing them soon." "Stay away from Dash." Lucy tried to move to protect Carla but was stopped in her tracks when she was hit by a sudden wave of exhaustion, bringing her down onto one knee. "Damn it, using Natsu's magic earlier, and taking the brunt of that explosion, my entire body is aching right now." "Give Wendy back, you bitch!" Carla yelled, grabbing a hold of a loose piece of stone in the road as she prepared to throw it at Nightwalker. "She's just a kid. I won't let you touch, Carla." However, before Carla could try to desperately attack Nightwalker, she was surprised when Happy stepped in front of her. His arms were outstretched as he did his best to shield her. "She's been through enough." "Heh, then you die first," Nightwalker said as she reared her spear back, ready to strike Happy. But before Nightwalker could attack, she was stopped when an explosion rang out behind her soldiers. Gasping in surprise, she whipped around to face the source of the explosion. "What the hell is going on?" "Wait," Lucy said, raising her head and sniffing the air several times. When a familiar pair of scents hit her nose, Lucy smiled and breathed a sigh of relief, feeling tears sting her eyes. "Happy, Carla, we're gonna be okay, backup is here. We never forgive those who endanger members of our guild." Happy and Carla's eyes widened in surprise as they watched two figures approach through the dust and debris, Idola's soldiers screaming and falling in their wake. When the dust finally began to settle, Urza Scarlet and Grey Full Buster could be seen, their faces furrowed in anger. "That makes you all enemies of Fairy Tail." "We're here, Lucy," Urza said, briefly smiling at her fellow mate. "I'm glad that you're okay." What? There's another Urza-sama. And who's the creep not wearing a shirt?" "I idiot. Those are Earthland mages. Where are our nakama?" Grey asked as he pressed his fist into his palm, the air starting to chill around him. The Idolas soldiers yelped in fear as they watched chilling energy start to gather in Grey's hand. "Where the hell are our friends that you turned into that huge lacrima? Tell us now." Slamming his palms onto the ground, Grey unleashed a wave of ice spikes that easily cut through the Idolas soldiers. One by one, the soldiers were taken out by the wall of ice. However, Nightwalker seemed to be the only one who managed to dodge Grey's attack, backflipping away. As soon as she landed, Nightwalker sprang into action, launching forward to attack Grey. But her attack was stopped by Urza, who used her sword to deflect Nightwalker's spear. Both scarlet-haired knights glared at each other as they clashed blades. The ground underneath the powerful knights began to crack and crumble as both refused to move an inch. A piece of flying debris cut Urza's cheek, while another sliced across Nightwalker's nose. "Whoa, Urza versus Urza, this is going to be crazy." Lucy breathed out, watching both scarlet-haired knights leap away before clashing blades once again, which sent out a small shockwave. Hearing another scream come from the west tower, Lucy tried to get back onto her feet. That was Wendy again. "Are they in the basement?" Grey asked as he rushed over to Lucy's side and helped her up. That scream sounded like it came from that building just ahead. "Yes, Natsu and Wendy should both be in there," Happy said, gazing at the tower in worry as he heard Natsu roar in pain. "We have to hurry and help them. Grey, go on ahead. Go save Natsu and Wendy," Urza said as she deflected a spear jab from Nightwalker, before kicking her Idolas counterpart in the gut. "I'll hold things down here." "Can you walk, Lucy?" Grey asked, letting the blonde mage lean against his shoulder. Lucy was about to say something but stumbled forward a bit. "Here, I'll help you." "Thanks, Grey," Lucy said as they all began to make their way toward the tower. "How did you and Urza get here?" "Don't worry about the details now," Grey replied, pushing the door open to the west tower and helping Lucy inside. "Let's just focus on saving Natsu and Wendy. TCH, to think I'd be getting in my own way," Nightwalker said as she wiped some blood from her face, spreading it across her cheek like whiskers. "Quite perplexing. It is indeed an odd feeling," Urza agreed, tightening her grip on her sword as she glared at her Edo counterpart. "You seem to be quite strong." "As do you," Nightwalker said as she continued to stare at Urza, her brow furrowing slightly. After a few moments, her eyes softened slightly and she lowered her spear. Are you really in a relationship with Natsu and Lucy? Yes, we are all in a relationship together, along with another girl, Mirajane, but there will likely be other girls in the future. Urza replied with a small smile, lowering her sword slightly and locking eyes with Nightwalker. Taking a deep breath, Urza clenched a hand over her heart. I love Natsu with all my being. It took me a long time for me to realize how stubborn I was being, denying my feelings for him. I just don't get it. Nightwalker exclaimed in a frustrated tone as she clenched her eyes shut and turned her head away. How do you possibly make a relationship like that work? Shouldn't you want Natsu all for yourself? How can you stand sharing him with another woman? I won't lie, it is tough sometimes. I absolutely hated the idea at first, wouldn't even entertain it. Urza said with a chuckle, remembering back the Tower of Heaven incident before she had started her relationship with Natsu. But Lucy and Mirajane have become sisters to me, we've become very close. They're just as important to me as Natsu and I couldn't imagine my life without them. I don't know. Nightwalker muttered as she pressed a hand to her forehead, her voice a bit shaky. It all just sounds too convenient, too perfect. I know it may seem that way, but trust me, our relationship has had a few rough patches. Urza said, slowly approaching Nightwalker. I'm guessing you're in a similar situation with your Natsu and Lucy. I went through the same thing you're experiencing and it will never be solved unless you talk with them. Reaching out, Urza placed a hand on Nightwalker's shoulder. You three may be able to work things out and start a relationship together, or you may not. But no matter how things turn out, you'll at least have closure. So please, sit down with your Natsu and Lucy, squash any bad blood left between you, and talk. Maybe. Nightwalker began to mutter as her mind began to race, her grip on her spear tightening. However, after a few moments, she locked eyes with Urza, and her eyes hardened once again. Her eyes widening in shock, Urza stepped back and raised her sword, barely managing to deflect a swipe from Nightwalker's spear. Enough! You! Lucy! Natsu! You're all trying to get into my head. Make me falter. Well, I won't allow it. For, I am Urza Nightwalker, commander of the Idolas Kingdom's 2nd Magical Warfare Corps. TCH, you're even more stubborn than me. Urza said, releasing a heavy sigh as she raised her sword once again. I am Urza Scarlet, Mage of Fairy Tale. Let's just see what the Earthland version of me is made of. Sylpharian! Nightwalker exclaimed as she leaped into the air, her spear humming with magical energy. Leaping to the side at the last moment, Urza avoided a deadly thrust from Nightwalker's spear as she rocketed past her. To be able to avoid that, you're pretty fast. Right back at you. Urza said, charging toward Nightwalker as her body began to glow with the change of her armor. If it's a battle of speed you want, then my flight armor will be a perfect match. Featuring very few armored parts, this armor was more like a unique attire bearing reminiscence to a cheetah. Its breastplate took the form of a very revealing, armored cheetah pattern top, with some bare armor protruding from the upper part of it, in correspondence to Urza's breasts, and some fur lining the lower edges, exposing her stomach and some cleavage. There was no waistguard, with the armor instead sporting a pair of revealing black shorts, with a belt holding a cloth hanging over Urza's left leg attached to them. The arms were covered by dark armbands reaching up just below Urza's shoulders, with Urza's left arm being protected by cheetah-patterned armor, consisting of a single pauldron and a wide armguard. Her legs were covered in similar stockings reaching up to her thighs, with armored, asymmetric high-heeled boots over them, with the left leg, yet again, being the more armored one, with the boot reaching up to the knee, which was protected by a cheetah-patterned knee guard. The right leg, on the other hand, was covered by a boot only reaching up to part of Urza's calf. The outfit was completed by a large collar around Urza's neck and by a tail hanging from the back of her shorts, both made of bushy fur, plus a pair of large cheetah ears adorning both sides of her head. Her armor, it just changed. Nightwalker breathed out in awe as she watched Urza dart around her at an incredible speed. Her speed increased too. As Urza sped toward her, Nightwalker jumped into the air, avoiding a horizontal slash from Urza's sword. Before Nightwalker even touched the ground, her spear transformed into one with a wide spearhead, the edges on the side curving inwards close to where the spearhead is mounted, and a glowing orb connecting to the shaft. Nightwalker jabbed the spear toward Urza, unleashing a powerful blast of wind. Mel Force. Forming an X with her arms, Urza took the full brunt of the attack, gritting her teeth as she was sent skidding back. With a grunt, Urza crashed through a stone wall, falling into a pile of rubble on a partially collapsed bridge. Quickly regaining her composure, Urza spotted Nightwalker leaping toward her, the Idalos Knight's spear changing form once again. She re-equipped? Urza thought, digging herself out of the debris. No. Just the shape of her weapon changed. Explosion! Nightwalker exclaimed as she unleashed a massive fireball, completely engulfing Urza in the flames. However, when the flames died down, Nightwalker was shocked to see that Urza's armor had changed once again and that she appeared to be completely unscathed. Her armor now was dark red predominantly, but also sported orange and black parts, with the first ones being shaped like flames and the second resembling dragon's limbs. Her armor changed once again. So you have magic that transforms your armor and sword at the same time. And it looks like you can only change the form of your weapon. Urza said with a smirk, pointing her sword at Nightwalker. And you call those flames? They don't hold a candle to Natsu's. TCH, you'll regret mocking me. Nightwalker spat as she readied her spear to strike once again. Beyond the shape of my spear, I can also raise my body's battle prowess. Even if the principle is different, the end results are the same as my night magic. Urza said, sliding into a fighting stance and readying her sword. Let's see whose magic prevails. Come at me. Back with Lucy, Gray, Happy, and Carla. So you came from that huge lacrima that was in the plaza? Lucy asked, which caused Gray to nod his head as the fairy tale mages descended a seemingly endless set of winding stairs. Was there anyone else? No, it was just Urza and I. Gray clarified, releasing a light sigh. Gadjil was the one who got us out. I guess that makes sense. Happy said as he stroked his chin, hopping down from one step to another. Gadjil is a dragon slayer, so the anima wouldn't have worked on him, just like Natsu and Wendy. So, that means he was left in Earthland, instead of being sucked into Idalos. Lucy muttered, her brow furrowing slightly as she looked at Gray. How did he get here? Apparently he was sent here by Mystigan. Gray replied as he shrugged his shoulders and shook his head. I don't know all the details, but it seems that Dragon Slayer magic serves a different purpose in this world. One of which is turning those who've been turned into lacrima back to normal. For real? Happy exclaimed in a shocked tone, before rushing forward to catch up with Gray. We know where the lacrima everyone is trapped in is at. Really? Are you serious, Happy? Gray yelled as he stopped dead in his tracks, whipping around to face the blue cat. Gadjil has been tearing up the entire city looking for that damn lacrima. Could you take him to it? Gadjil will be able to turn everyone back to normal? Happy asked, looking up at Gray. I can go. But I'm still worried about Natsu and Wendy. Don't worry about Natsu and Wendy, we'll definitely rescue them. Gray said with a small smile as he crouched down and gently patted Happy's head. And Gadjil will be able to change everyone back to normal. Technically, Natsu and Wendy could do it too, but they don't know how. Got it. Happy cheered with a grin, his wings sprouting out of his back as he began to soar back up the stairwell. I'll get Gadjil to that lacrima. Hold on a second, Happy. Lucy called out as she watched the blue cat disappear out of sight. But her shout fell upon deaf ears. Happy was already too far away. Will he be okay by himself? He'll be fine. Carla reassured them, before dropping down another set of steps. As for us, we need to focus on finding Natsu and Wendy. I think we're nearing the bottom. Gray said when he noticed that the stairs seemed to end around the next bend. After descending the last few steps, Gray's eyes widened when he spotted a set of doors at the end of a long hallway. Look guys, there's a door up ahead. The three fairy tale mages rushed forward and Gray kicked the doors open. Natsu! Wendy! You in here! Oh God, there they are!" Lucy exclaimed, spotting both dragon slayers on the floor, leaning against large stone slabs. Running over, Lucy crouched down next to her mate. "Natsu! Are you okay? Please say something. Oi! Get it together, Wendy!" Gray proclaimed as he kneeled next to Wendy, gently shaking her shoulder. "Damn it, they're both out cold. I'm so sorry," Carla cried, resting her head against Wendy's lap as a few tears escaped her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Wendy. Here, let's try this," Gray said as he began to dig into his pocket. "Let's try having them take these X-balls. Open up Natsu's mouth for me." "X-balls?" Lucy parroted in a confused tone, quirking an eyebrow. "What the hell are those?" "We got them from Gajeel." "Did you not get any from Mistigan?" Gray asked as he held up a small glass vial full of red pills. "It's a special medicine that will allow us to use magic in this world. You know, now that you mention it, he did have me take something before I came to Idolas," Lucy said, watching as Gray popped one of the X-balls into Natsu's mouth. After a few moments, the pink-haired dragon slayer began to cough and sputter. Leaning in closer, Lucy embraced her mate. "Natsu! It's okay. I'm here. Alright, time for Wendy," Gray said as he shuffled over and gave the blue-haired dragon slayer one of the pills. "Okay, we should be all set now." Growling. Natsu growled, his eyes suddenly snapping open. Lucy was surprised when Natsu slammed his fist into the ground, causing it to crack and crumble. The pink-haired dragon slayer tried to leave Lucy's grasp and stand upright. "We have to stop them." "Stop them?" Lucy repeated as she tried to hold Natsu down, wanting him to take a few more moments to recover. "Just hold a minute, Natsu, you don't need to rush off." "Ha!" Natsu said, breathing out a small puff of fire as he finally realized that Lucy was holding him. "Luce? I was so worked up, didn't even realize it was you." Leaning in close, Lucy was slightly caught off guard when Natsu captured her lips in a passionate kiss. She moaned lightly when Natsu's tongue slipped into her mouth as he wrapped an arm around her waist and pressed her body against his. When the two mates eventually broke their lip lock, Lucy's face was flushed and her eyes half-lidded. With a smile, Natsu reached out and caressed his thumb across Lucy's cheek. "I'm so glad you're okay, Luce. If they had hurt you, I don't know what I would have done. I was worried about you too, Natsu," Lucy said with a loving smile as she leaned in close and rested her head on Natsu's shoulder. "Before I escaped, I had a run-in with Nightwalker and I ended up using your magic that was stored in my mate Mark." "Yeah, I could sort of sense that you used it," Natsu said with a grin, before turning to face his mate and gripping her shoulders. "I guess that means you'll need a fill up." Before Lucy could say anything, Natsu leaned forward and sank his fangs into her mate Mark, pumping his magic into her body. Lucy moaned softly and hugged Natsu's head, feeling a warm, comforting sensation as the pink-haired dragon slayer's magic poured into her. After a few moments, Natsu pulled away and wiped his mouth. "There, you should be all topped up." Thanks." Lucy breathed out as she panted slightly and rubbed her mate Mark. I feel a lot better now." Hey! Wendy is waking up," Carla exclaimed, watching as the blue-haired dragon slayer coughed several times before her eyes slowly opened. "Wendy! Thank God you're okay." "Carla, you're all right, thank goodness," Wendy said in between breaths as she slowly sat upright. But we can't waste any time, everyone in the guild, they're in danger. In order to destroy Extalia, the royal army is going to crash the giant Lacrima into it." Wendy sniffled several times as tears began to pour from her eyes. "They're going to use our Nakama as a bomb." That's horrible," Lucy gasped, clasping her hands over her mouth. "How could they do something so awful?" "We won't let them do that," Natsu growled as he tightly balled his fists, sparks crackling off his knuckles. "We'll stop these bastards for sure. There's a floating island suspended in the air above Idolas. I'm sure we've all seen it a bunch of times," Lucy explained, helping Natsu back onto his feet. It seems like it's Extalia's magical energy that keeps it in the air. I read that it preserves the balance of this world's magic. So, it seems like our nakama who were turned into that lacrima are on that island. Gray muttered as released a light sigh. They've been right above our heads this entire time. And they're right next to Extalia. Carla said, hanging her head slightly and staring down at the floor. I knew it was bad when Happy and I saw that huge lacrima floating near Extalia. Currently the lacrima and Extalia are floating directly above us. Wendy explained as she tightly gripped the fabric of her skirt. This whole process speeds up on the island as Dragon Slayer magic becomes more potent. Their aim is to crash that lacrima into Extalia. Why the hell would they do something like that? Gray asked, letting out a frustrated huff as he shoved his hands into his pockets. Don't they need that lacrima for magical power? They think it will cause magic from the lacrima and the exceed to fuse together, bringing eternal magic to Idalos. Wendy replied, which caused everyone's eyes to widen in surprise. Eternal magic will rain down upon this nation, that's what that creepy old man said. If that happens, everyone trapped in that lacrima, and all the exceed in Extalia. Lucy said, tightly balling her fists in anger. They'll disappear forever. How are you doing, Wendy? Natsu asked in a surprisingly soft tone as he walked over and crouched down next to the blue-haired dragon slayer. You seem kind of down. It's just... Wendy said quietly, sniveling as she desperately fought back tears. I just joined Fairy Tale, and everyone is in danger. I already lost all my friends at Kate's shelter. Unable to hold back any longer, Wendy choked back a sob as tears began to fall from her eyes. I don't want to go through that again. I love all of you. Everyone at Fairy Tale was so nice and welcoming. I can't lose you guys. That's not going to happen, Wendy. Natsu said in a determined tone as he tightly hugged Wendy, resting her head against his. I promise you, we'll save everyone. Wendy's tears slowly began to stop as Natsu's comforting warmth washed over her. And you'll help too, Wendy. You're strong. We're gonna need your help. Why, you're right. Wendy exclaimed, quickly wiping away her tears and getting onto her feet. Dusting herself off, Wendy turned to face Lucy and Gray and bowed slightly. Thank you for rescuing us. It's no big deal. Gray said with a small smile as he shrugged his shoulders. There's no way I could leave my guildmates behind. And I knew Carla would come for us. Wendy said, picking up the white-furred cat and hugging her tightly. Thank you, so much. Alright, if we're all ready, we need to get moving. Natsu cheered as he punched his flaming fist into his palm, kicking out a small plume of blue flames. We need to find that bastard king and stop these assholes from crashing that lacrima. Yeah, let's get going. Gray said, putting on his shirt, which he had seemingly removed earlier, as he followed Natsu back up out of the tower. I'm itching for some payback. Hold up a second. Natsu said when they reached the tower's entrance as he held out his arm to stop anyone from passing. Raising his head, Natsu sniffed the air a few times. After a few moments, he pointed toward a hole in a nearby wall. Urza and Nightwalker are in over there. As much as I want to see Urza, we should probably avoid them for now. Urza is crazy strong. Lucy said, hearing the clash of blades and shouts of battle coming from the hole in the wall. But she's basically fighting herself right now, will she be okay? It's Urza. Natsu said with a toothy grin as he gave his mate a reassuring look. No one can stop her, not even herself. You guys go on ahead. Wendy said, before turning to face Carla as she locked eyes with the white cat. The other three Fairy Tale mages briefly exchanged looks before they nodded and continued on their mission to find the king. Carla, let's go to Extalia. W.I. Carla exclaimed with wide eyes as she stared at Wendy in shock. We have other things to worry about. We have to warn them about the royal army's attack and evacuate them. Wendy said in a determined tone, not backing down at all. We can't let all those exceed die. Weren't we going to stop that attack? Carla exclaimed as she tried to persuade Wendy to reconsider. We should stay and help Dash. Of course we are. We're definitely going. I believe Natsu and the others. Wendy exclaimed, crouching down so that she was almost eye level with Carla. But, we don't know what else the Royal Army has planned. Just to prepare for the worst case scenario, we should at least warn them about the danger they're in. And no. I can't go back there. Carla shouted defiantly as she rapidly shook her head. I don't care what happens to the Exceed. It's not about whether they're human or Exceed. Wendy said with a soft smile, reaching out and gently patting Carla's head. As living creatures, we have to do something to help them. Wendy's words seemed to strike a chord within Carla, the white cat's brow furrowing as she contemplated what the blue-haired dragon slayer had said. I'll be with you the whole time, so there's no need to worry. Okay? All right. Carla said with a light sigh before she smiled at Wendy. I can never say no to you. Same time, with Happy. Gotta find Gajeel fast. Happy thought, flying the streets of the royal capital at an incredible speed. Rounding a corner, Happy's eyes widened when he spotted the Iron Dragon Slayer surrounded by a group of Idolos army soldiers. Gajeel. Blue Cat. You're safe. Gajeel grunted as he dodged an attack from one of the soldiers, countering with a punch to the face. Where's Salamander and the others? They're safe too, but they're taking care of something else. Happy replied, rushing forward and picking Gajeel up, much to the Iron Dragon Slayer's surprise. I'll take you to where the Lacrima is. As Happy flew them both away from the soldiers, he glanced down at Gajeel. Hey, can you really change everyone back to their original forms? Gaha, it'll be no problem. Gajeel chuckled with a devious smirk as he held up a balled fist. I'll smash that Lacrima with Dragon Slayer magic. Will that really work? Happy asked in a skeptical tone, a sweat drop forming on his brow. Seems kind of simple. Oi, I'm just doing what Mystigan told me to do. Gajeel barked as he released an annoyed huff, crossing her arms. Got a problem with that, ya punk cat? And no. No problem at all. Happy hurriedly exclaimed, rapidly shaking his head. Why isn't Mystigan here anyway? How the hell would I know? Gajeel snapped as he pointed toward a floating island with a large, glimmering object on it up ahead. Just focus on getting us to that Lacrima. Here it is. Happy said, setting Gajeel down on the edge of the floating island. Our friends are trapped in there. Goddamn, it's fucking huge, a lot bigger than I thought it'd be. Gajeel said with a grunt as he stared up at the towering Lacrima which occupied most of the island. Ah hell, what a pain in the ass. When we get back home, I'm eating all the iron I want. You can do it, Gajeel. Happy cheered, pumping his fist into the air. I know you can. Alright, let's get dash, Gajeel started to say but was cut off when something suddenly sliced through the ground beneath him and it began to collapse. Quickly leaping onto a stable piece of ground, Gajeel whipped around to face what had attacked them. What the fuck was that? Ah, I remember this guy. Happy exclaimed when he spotted Panther Lily floating in the air, a massive sword resting against his shoulder. He's with the Royal Army. I'm the captain of the Royal Army's 1st Magical War Division, Panther Lily. The large, black-furred Exceed introduced himself, glaring at Gajeel and Happy. This Lacrima is the most important part of our current plans. I won't let you have it. Stay back, cat. Gajeel said as he cocked his arm back, transforming it into a massive, iron sword. Iron Dragon's dash however, as Gajeel swung his bladed arm, Panther Lily flew forward and dodged the attack. Swinging his own massive blade, Lily cut off another massive chunk of the island. Leaping backward, Gajeel came to a skidding stop on a secure chunk of the island. Holy hell, what's with that big-ass sword? Did you really think you could beat me? Lily asked in a condescending tone, pointing his sword and glaring at the Iron Dragon Slayer. You'll be stopped here. Back with Natsu's group. Where the hell is that bastard king? Natsu growled as he led the charge through the halls of the royal castle, leaving a trail of fire in his wake. We can't just keep running around aimlessly. They put my prison in a high place and made the courtyard's layout quite confusing," Lucy said, stroking her chin and furrowing her brow as she thought. "Assuming that this place is a concentric fortress, there should be something akin to a castle tower. Even their general castle structures are different from Earthland's, so I can't make any concrete guesses." "Ugh, I barely understand a word you just said," Gray grumbled as he sighed and shook his head. "All I got is that this building has an ass-backward layout." "Can't argue with that," Lucy said with a small smile, shrugging her shoulders. "At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an amusement park here in this castle." "Hey yeah, I could, totally." Natsu started to trail off when he rounded a corner and spotted something he wasn't expecting to see, stopping dead in his tracks. Luce, you said you wouldn't be surprised by an amusement park, right?" "What are you?" Lucy stopped mid-sentence when she rounded the corner as well, her eyes immediately bugging out when she saw what Natsu was referring to. Spread out before the fairy tale mages was a sprawling and bustling amusement park, apparently called Eland, filled with dozens of magical theme rides. "What the fuck? There really is an amusement park here. This is so fun." A sing-song voice coming from within the park caught the fairy tale mage's attention. Entering the amusement park, they were greeted by the bizarre sight of a man with a blonde pompadour wearing pink armor, riding on a carousel. "Ha ha ha. Truly, this is quite fun. Before any of the fairy tale mages could respond or react to the strange display, they were caught off guard when a massive object swung just over their head. Ducking out of the way, they were shocked to see that it was actually a wooden ship that had nearly hit them. Natsu stood protectively in front of Lucy as the wooden ship swung back into place. "You know, all this fun and magic will be disappearing from this world soon," a voice called out from the top of the swinging ship. Looking up, Natsu recognized that man who had first locked him and Wendy in a cell. "Do you guys understand how that makes me feel? We're going to obtain magic that lasts forever," Sugar Boy said in a somewhat menacing tone as the carousel he was riding came to a sudden stop. "No matter how we have to achieve it. We must have it," Hughes said with a dark look in his eyes, glaring fiercely at the fairy tale mages. "And I won't let anyone stand in our way." The way I see it, you either return to prison," Sugar Boy said, in his usual sing-song tone as he fixed his hair with an over-exaggerated motion. "Or you die here." "Sugar Boy, we're not giving them any choice. They die here." Hughes spat, pulling out a small device that appeared to be a magic wand of some kind. "The extraction of the Dragon Slayer magic has been completed. Once Code ETD succeeds, we won't have any further need for the Dragon Slayers." With a flick of his wrist, Hughes' wand shot out of a bolt of magic that surrounded the ship, causing it to float into the air. "These otherworlders don't understand the value of magic, so we'll kill them now." The massive, wooden ship shot toward the fairy tale mages, aiming to crush them all in one swoop. Hughes smirked when he felt the ship smash into something before it continued forward, crashing into the carousel Sugar Boy was riding. However, when the dust and debris began to settle, Hughes was shocked to see that the fairy tale mages appeared to be unharmed, being protected by a large shield of ice. A shield made of ice. Hughes breathed out as he stared at the ice shield in awe. "So this is Earthland's magic? So, they really don't need to use tools, huh?" Sugar Boy said, digging himself out of the carousel's rubble. It's my first time seeing it. Don't think I forgot about you, asshole. I need to pay you back for all the shit you said while we were trapped in that cell." Natsu roared as vibrant, blue flames coated his legs, before rocketing toward Hughes at an incredible speed. In the blink of an eye, Natsu was in front of Hughes, hitting him with a devastating flaming punch to the jaw. Fire Dragon's Purifying Iron Fist. Natsu's attack instantly floored Hughes with enough force to cause him to smash through the ship's deck and crash into the ground below. "Give our Nakama back. Why, your friends will be fused with Extalia's magical power and become an eternal source of magical power for Idolas," Hughes said in a pained tone, pulling himself out of the hole in the ground and raising his magic wand once again. Wincing in pain, Hughes flicked his wrist and his wand sparked to life. Out of thin air, a set of roller coaster tracks formed underneath Natsu's feet, with a series of cars barreling toward him. That was a good hit, I'll admit, but let's see how you like this. Natsu! Look out behind you! Lucy exclaimed as she tried to rush over to help her mate. However, she was stopped in her tracks when the ground beneath her and Gray suddenly gave out and they started to sink in, almost as if it were quicksand. What the hell is this? As if this would stop me! Natsu roared, turning to face the coaster cars and standing his ground. We're not going to let you stop us. Hughes gasped and watched in wide-eyed terror as Natsu's entire body became engulfed in roaring blue flames. Feeling his body start to tremble, Hughes' breath hitched when he swore the pink-haired dragon slayer's billowing flames took the shape of a ferocious dragon. Unleashing a deafening shout, Natsu reached out his arms and stopped the coaster cars with his bare hands, completely shrouding them in scorching blue flames. In mere seconds, the coaster cars melted, the molten metal falling to the ground below. Hughes yelped in fear when Natsu turned to face him, a look of draconic fury in his eyes as he exhaled a plume of smoke and blue fire. Oh God! Hughes thought as he felt the almost overwhelming urge to drop his wand and run away, feeling as if he were facing down a real dragon. He really is a monster. Gray, you handle that pink-armored fruitcake. Lucy, you go on ahead and try to find the kind. Natsu snarled, hopping down from the wooden ship and landing several feet away from Hughes. Slowly walking toward the terrified Idolos mage, the pink-haired dragon slayer's fists became engulfed in crackling orange electricity as he seemed to tower over Hughes. This asshole is all mine. That wraps up this part of What If Natsu Had Dual Elements. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.